Welcome to the Driveway Beers podcast with Mike and Alex. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoy the show. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share on any platform that you're listening on. All right, welcome back to another show. Right off the bat, wasn't supposed to touch the microphone.
I didn't. I was going to, and I said, you know what? I'm not doing it.
Yeah, and then I did it.
We'll see who's making the noise.
Yeah, we're trying to eliminate the ting-ting-tings from the recordings, and hopefully this will do that. And I'm really going to try not to touch the microphone. Okay, but welcome back to another show. Thank you for coming back. Please like, subscribe, comment, share. Smash that like button for all the kids out there. I think that's how they say it. Go to drivewaybeerspodcast.com. Get yourself a VPN. privateinternetaccess.com/drivewaybeers is our code. You'll get yourself a nice little discount on 2 years. It's only $55 for 2 years, which is great for a VPN. When some of these services, you see them advertised all over the place, they're charging upwards of $11 a month, or can even on their deals, they're charging close to $5 or $6 a month. So if you go with the private internet access deal for 2 years, you get it for about $2.11 a month, and it's one of the better VPNs out there. So go to drivewaybeerspodcast.com. Go ahead and click on our link for private internet access and sign up today. We do earn a commission. I just want to put that out there. All right. So there was some big news in the world of politics. One former presidential candidate that we had talked about in the past that we had both really liked, and was actually on the Democrat side. I know most people that listen to us probably think we're hardcore Republicans, but both of us have voted for both parties in the past, and we tend to like centrists but not party loyalists. We like the populist candidates a little bit, at least if they're the establishment candidates. Just haven't. They don't seem very genuine nowadays, and who knows? Maybe they never were. But anyway.
Yeah, they probably never were.
One candidate we both really liked a lot was Tulsi Gabbard. Mm-hmm. And she was a congresswoman from Hawaii?
From Hawaii, yep. She was in the House.
Just want to make sure.
I think Hawaii only has one.
I think so. I just want to make sure I wasn't shorting her when she was really a senator.
Right.
But I think she was a congresswoman.
Mm-hmm.
She posted on her... Shoot. I know she posted it on our locals page, but I think she put it on either Instagram or Twitter. I think it was Instagram. With her official announcement that she was leaving the Democratic Party.
Yep.
She's not joining the Republican Party, though.
And she also did it on Joe Rogan.
Right. So October 11th, the episode on Joe Rogan, and she might have put it there first. Maybe she told him first.
Yeah.
That she was leaving the party. And two of the reasons she gave, I believe, were racism against white people, which I was surprised considering she's a minority. Mm-hmm. I believe she's Indian American. I think so. I know Gabbard, I think, is her married name anyway. It is. Yeah. Tulsi is a shortened version of her natural name.
Yeah.
And Gabbard is her married name. I want to say maybe she's Indian.
Yes.
I want to say Indian.
Yeah.
And she was put off by the Democratic Party being a very anti-white person party. Now, whether you believe that or not, that's up to you. But that was her reason.
Yep.
And I also believe, what was it? She said there was one other reason. I
think essentially it's kind of like for the reasons that we no longer identify as Democrats is because the party's moved left of, they've just full on embraced the crazy, and she's not, and then they really did her. They did her dirty.
Yeah.
After she wouldn't get in lockstep with, and when she would get lockstep with the party, and then she would not when she ran for president. She's the one that torpedoed Kamala Harris.
Well, torpedo's a rough word because all she did was just call her out on her.
Well, yeah,
record.
she just essentially like she's the one that, you know, I guess according to the party loyalists torpedoed, but yeah, she's the one that really just kind of sunk that ship.
Yeah, and when she did it, at least from what she said on the Rogan podcast, she's like, I didn't know this was brand new news. Yeah. She goes, you could easily have found any of the information she said during that debate with a simple Google search.
Yeah.
And she's like, I didn't think I was breaking any news.
Yeah.
I was just putting out there what nobody else on that panel would do, and the moderators weren't asking her about.
Yeah.
Well, from there on, though, she got labeled. Yeah, was it after that Hillary Clinton labeled her a Russian asset?
Right. And let's not forget, she's also a active duty, or she's a reserve. She's a commissioned officer in the United States Army.
Right. That
Hillary Clinton's running around calling her a Russian asset.
Right. A lady who has never served in any capacity other than her own self-serving interests.
Right.
Calling out someone who actually served in the Army.
Yeah.
And, I think, that was probably a shock to a lot of Democrats. Because Tulsi was liked by a lot of the centrists in that party. But the party loyalists didn't like her because she didn't toe the line. Right.
Because, and, you know, in Rogan's podcast, because I just finished listening to it today, and she actually, you know, when she crossed the establishment part of the party, she wasn't the type that was going to stand there and just recite talking points. She was her own person.
Yeah.
And they couldn't handle that. She was a rogue. So, and then she tried to pass a bill protecting Title IX. She co-sponsored a bill with a Republican protecting Title IX, which irritated them too. So yeah, she just crossed them the wrong way. I forget, was it Wasserman Schultz down there in Florida, who was the chair of the DNC? She pissed her off too. So,
well, wasn't she? She was the vice chair of the DNC.
Yes,
Tulsi was.
Yeah,
and apparently, it was during the Hillary-Bernie primary.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all public knowledge that the DNC was giving information, or they were giving DNC mailing lists or some kind of additional information was being sent to Hillary, but not to Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bernie's team was asking for it and they weren't getting it.
Yeah.
Hillary's team was getting everything.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when Wasserman Schultz was the head of the DNC and Tulsi was the vice chair.
Yeah.
And Tulsi was a Bernie fan, not for the policies, but for his more along the lines for his independence, right? Yeah. And this is pre-primary Bernie versus post, where he seems to be lockstep.
Oh, he's just fell right
with everything in the party now.
Yeah.
And so I think she had provided pushback when she was the vice chair of the DNC, and of course she got fired from that position. But this was all before it got found out that all of this was happening in the background of the DNC.
Yeah.
Now Hillary had access to information.
Yeah.
And when I say information, I'm talking like donor files, voter rolls, like that kind of thing, like things that can help a candidate win.
Mm-hmm.
And they were purposefully handicapping Bernie's campaign.
Yeah.
Which, who knows? I mean, he could have been the candidate had he had all the resources available to him, because that was a tight primary.
It was. And he went pretty deep into that. And the problem when you go deep into a primary is that the other side doesn't have to beat you up, because your own side's beating you up trying to get. Right. And a lot of people forget the primary is nothing that's guaranteed. The parties don't have to honor any of that. The parties can run who they want to run. They don't have to abide by the primary.
Right.
They don't even have to do them if they don't want to. So they do, but I don't, they don't have to. So when the Democrats just, rather than just saying, hey, we want Hillary, Bernie, you better just ride off into the sunset, they tried to help Hillary out. because she was the ordained one. She was the next one to run, and then Bernie came out of nowhere.
Right, and he found a lot of support amongst, and I'm going to use this word again, populists.
Yeah,
populists really don't go along with either party. Mm-hmm. They go against someone who's for the people. That's where populist comes from. And of course, by then they were like, well, Hillary's not for the people. At least Bernie pretends to be for the people.
Yeah. And I think the first primary Bernie was, I don't think you can go deep into two national primaries like that and not really become part of the machine yourself.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much effort. I think one you can go deep into and make a name for yourself, but I don't think you can do two. I think when you've gone deep into two, you're kind of, a swamp creature at that point.
Well, I mean, he's been there since the 70s.
Yeah.
I mean, before he was a senator, he was a House rep for Vermont.
Mm-hmm.
Before he was a House rep for Vermont, he was the mayor of Burlington.
Yeah.
The guy never had an actual job.
Right.
Right? He was always a politician.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing against that. Look, I'm sure there are some people do it. They're altruistic. I mean, Bernie at one point was the poorest person in Congress.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, if we really want to get into some meat and potatoes, I mean, I swear if you just do a Google search of Paul Pelosi, the man had a better investment record than Warren Buffett and George Soros, who happen to be two of the best investors of all time.
Yeah.
He handily beat the S&P 500. Like, it's not a coincidence that someone no one has ever heard of who doesn't run any fund was just raking in money hand over fist by just getting lucky in the stock market.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was luck.
Right.
It had nothing to do with his wife being the Speaker of the House.
Nothing.
And the fact that the Speaker of the House and the minority leader in the House, well, mostly the Speaker of the House, knows about every single bill before it even makes it to the floor for a vote.
Yeah.
And knows whether it will be defeated or whether it's going to pass.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that the husband had no access to that information?
Yeah.
Of course not. It's against a rule. It's against the rules.
Oh, he wouldn't violate the rule.
And oh, by the way, this isn't a Democrat or Republican issue, because if you do a Google search for Kelly Loeffler, and I forgot the other, Richard something, I forgot his name. Those were of course, those people weren't found to be guilty of anything either, right? It's just par for the course. But that's how these people, I think Nancy Pelosi makes about $200,000 a year. Mm-hmm. Yeah, guess what? And you want to know how much they're worth?
What, 200 million?
Yes, 200 million. All because of his genius investment.
He must
strategies.
be good.
Yeah, he must be fantastic.
He's probably good at everything he does.
I mean, some people just have all the charisma.
Yeah.
And, all the luck. I mean,
he's probably packing heat. He probably throws like a 90, 95, 96 mile an hour slider.
Yeah.
He's probably just good at everything.
Everything.
I'm pretty sure that's it.
Got a huge dong too.
Yeah.
Keeping Nancy happy all the time. Because she looks happy all the time.
She does.
Yeah.
Happy or confused.
Yeah, well, either way, And I'm not, again, I don't think it's Democrat or Republican. I think it's all of them. With the exception of, I think Bernie's wealth has skyrocketed since that primary.
Yes.
I think he finally got down with the get down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is how this is done?
Yeah.
I would
much rather... Dude, you've been doing it wrong.
Yeah. I know, right, exactly. He wasn't in those meetings.
Have you ever seen, okay, so there's a movie, I forget, it's Eddie Murphy.
Trading Places.
Where they go and he runs for Congress.
Oh, not that one. No.
Yeah, so he runs for Congress in Florida. And they start their own party called the Silver Fox Party, so they can scam campaign fundraising, but they end up winning.
Yeah,
so that they actually have to do their job. But he went into it specifically to scam campaign finance laws.
Yeah,
and because there were they played like a bunch of low level like con artists. And someone said, oh, the real con is in D.C. in politics. So they decide to run. They create their own party. So they run, in Boca or something like that. All the old people vote for them. And then they actually become like, they become they find virtue and become, legit representing their people. But initially it starts like they go just to scam, which I think a lot of people get into politics. Like, I wonder how long it takes them to like succumb to the swamp.
Distinguished Gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah. Google machine worked real well while you were talking there. Yeah. It's like it. Yeah. With that movie, he goes into it knowing what he's going into it for. All these people, all the real politicians are trying to make you believe that they're in it for the virtue.
Yeah.
And not the money. When the money is why they all go. I'm sure you figure out before you get to the House or the Senate that this is the way to make money.
Yeah, well, so I want to say, because whenever Tulsi Gabbard's on a podcast, I listen to, because I've always liked her, and I think she has a good perspective, and she's a different voice than the standard crap you hear out of D.C. But she was talking about when you get elected, you have to toe the line, and like you don't talk to certain people, and then because they can very easily say, you know what, the DNC says we're not supporting you anymore. We're not providing you with. We're not sending the troops out to get you elected. We're going to actually throw our support behind your primary opponent, and that's how they keep them all in line. And the thing is, they're more concerned with getting reelected than they are with actually governing.
Right.
But, in Rogan's podcast, she got into this thing because, like, Donald Trump throws around the swamp creature term a lot. But really, what Tulsi said, it's this permanent Washington. It's high-level bureaucrats who are either appointees or have risen through the ranks. It's politicians, lobbyists, contractors, reporters. They're all in it together. They all run in the same social circles. They go to the same bars. They go to the same parties. Their wives all know each other. And you can't step out of line from these people because if you do, then you're committing like social suicide.
Yeah, she also mentioned that she mentioned two other factors in there. And that was she didn't call them influencers, but she basically put her hands up kind of like above her head as two circles, saying that, and there's these other people that have influence. Mm-hmm. A lot of it. And I thought that was very interesting. It was kind of glossed over in the interview. But she was essentially saying that there are some, if you were in prison, they'd be called shot callers. Mm-hmm. For all you people that don't know the prison thing like I do. Not that I've been in the prison. I watch a lot of the TV where I learned a lot about the prisons. History Channel is great for that. Anyway, so essentially there's people that fly under the radar. No one's probably ever heard of them. I think Rogan called them the cabal, which, at this point they've called themselves the cabal. If you ever read that, do you remember? I don't know if you remember that New York Times column that came out, and it was basically how there was these coalition of groups of people that essentially said they called themselves the cabal that saved democracy from Donald Trump. Like that,
yes.
It was like, wait a minute. So you all colluded.
Yeah.
It was like the Lincoln Project and BLM was a part of it.
Yeah.
So it's like this huge coordinated effort of people to ensure someone didn't get elected. But they said they did it for the good of democracy.
Right.
To protect democracy. They put it in terms so it sounded like they were virtuous in doing so. Mm-hmm. And people ate it up.
Oh, yeah.
Like, thank you. Thank you for coming and saving us.
Yep.
From Orange Man Bad.
Orange Man Bad, yeah.
But they admitted it. You just admitted what everyone thought. Mm-hmm. That there's a group of people that aren't involved in the actual election or candidate that's affecting elections.
Yeah.
And everyone, and the fact that people just ate it up like that. Oh yeah. Let's thank God you did it.
Right. Meanwhile, in
the
previous election, it was Russia collusion.
Oh well, yeah, no, that was
collusion. That was bad.
Yep.
Well, wasn't that a cabal?
Apparently.
Because also cabal is against Orange Man bad. Yeah. And I think both of us has made it pretty clear, like, neither one of us are Trump guys.
God, no.
You know. But in any case, when you have people who are openly saying, like, we are going to force to counter the free will of the people, well, then that's bad any way you slice it.
Right.
So,
but I love what the terms they use as to why they don't like him. If it's every ism,
yeah,
right? Misogynistic, or I'm sorry, every istic, misogynistic, racist,
yeah,
sexist, yeah, all those. He
nationalist.
Apparently, he hates everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a white nationalist. Apparently,
Yeah.
He's white supremacist. Apparently, is what they call him.
All the ists and isms.
Yeah, everything. They throw every one of them at him.
Yeah,
like this guy isn't like he couldn't not be any of them.
Right,
right. You're just throwing it all out there.
Yeah,
and people eat it up. And there was a comment. So someone was on Twitter and they were like, you know, like I was wrong about the COVID jab. You know, I apologize. I unwittingly knowingly spread the information about the COVID jab preventing COVID transmission.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone goes, when the apology, and someone's like, oh, I accept the apology, whatever. Just people on Twitter talking, right? And I was like, when the apology is as emphatic as the hate against people who didn't believe you when you were saying the wrong thing,
mm-hmm.
then I'll accept the apology.
Yeah. Because
you went after people. You made those jabs mandatory.
What about the people who are still getting bought? There was that Coast Guardsman.
Well, Coast Guard, the Army, the guys from the Army that lost their jobs. Nurses lost their jobs.
It's a public health crisis, but let's fire nurses.
Right. Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
You're now, so after they've been in the trenches for 2 years fighting this thing, now you're going to mandate that they get the jab.
Yeah.
Now they can't, now after everything has died down and you don't need them anymore, now you're going to make it mandatory for a nurse to get it.
Yeah.
And if they don't, we'll fire them, even though you spent 2 years working without it, working horrible hours because there weren't enough nurses.
Right.
But now that you don't need them, because things have died down, well, F you.
Yeah.
You don't get it, now you get fired.
Yeah.
I obviously didn't need it when you didn't care about me enough to say I shouldn't work in these hospitals without it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but now I need it?
Right.
And I think a lot of nurses were like, nah, I'm good, thanks.
Well, there was a big court case out of New York, I think, that said that when the city let go all those policemen and firefighters, that was illegal.
Right.
And the city can still appeal it, but if the city loses that, they're going to be paying a lot of punitive damages and back pay to those guys. And they deserve to.
And it's not like those people have to go back to work.
Yeah.
They're not saying you now have to convince that person to go back to work for the people that just treated them like garbage.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Because if I was one of those dudes, I would have moved right down to Florida, gotten hired by one of those. So the deputy, the sheriff's offices in Florida are actively recruiting NYPD officers. Mm-hmm. They're like, come down here. We love the police. We'll treat you well. The pay is better, especially when you consider cost of living.
Right.
So like, yeah, send the check down to my new address in Oskaloosa County, Florida.
That's right.
Or Orange County, Florida, or wherever I am. Send the check down there. Thank you. Yeah, you can come back because we need cops. Man, no thanks.
Yeah, and it's not like those checks are going to be small.
No.
You're going to pay out big checks, and they're going to go work somewhere else making a good living.
Yeah.
And without half the hassle.
Yep.
And it's all self-inflicted.
Yeah.
Like, your hospitals are understaffed because you fired the nurses that didn't want to get the jab.
Mm-hmm.
And you're complaining that the hospitals are understaffed. You did it to yourself.
Right.
You're complaining about crime going up because you don't have enough police officers. When you fired the police officers because they wouldn't get the jab,
mm-hmm.
you did it to yourself.
Yeah.
And nobody has, and the funny part is that I don't think they realize that there's this sentiment outside of that city where people are saying, sorry, Charlie.
Yeah.
You did it to yourself.
Well, Eric Adams was up there talking about like how New York has a brand. Kansas doesn't have a brand. New York has a brand. And I'm like, okay, New York does have, there's something to, but you guys are in your own little bubble. You're so impressed with yourself that it's almost like you've forgotten how ridiculous you look to the rest of the world. Like you're blinded by your own, your own love for yourself.
Well, he doesn't understand what the brand is.
Yeah.
The brand is glitz and glamour. The brand is opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
That's what it is. People don't go to New York City for the politics.
Right.
They might go for the diversity.
People leave because of the politics.
Yeah. But, I mean, they had that problem before Giuliani was elected mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Giuliani helped clean up New York City.
Yep.
And made it so that tourists were welcome back in the city and didn't have to worry about being mugged and stuck up.
Yeah, he closed the sex shops in Times Square, got all the bums out of Penn Station. I mean, not all of them. They're still
right.
I mean, a bum in Penn Station is part of the charm of Penn Station.
And I'm not saying, the person Giuliani is now is a great dude.
Yeah.
But for New York City, he brought a lot of people back to New York City, even if they were just tourists.
Mm-hmm.
Which it kind of brought New York City back to being that city on a hill.
Yeah.
That beacon of light. That's where people wanted to go. That's where things were happening.
Yeah.
Well, now it's back to being the place where people think they're going to go and get mugged.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Baltimore City here.
Mm-hmm.
As much as people want to say, "Oh, you're racist for saying this," no, you're not understanding human psychology.
Yeah.
And sociology and psychology of the human brain. People are going to avoid a place where they're more likely to be harmed.
Right. And also a place that
Survival.
has apparent disorder, which Baltimore City does. When they have gangs of kids that are running around just beating and mugging people at the Inner Harbor, that's a problem. When you have these dirt bike and ATV crews running through, it's lawlessness. People observe it. And I don't want to hear the racist argument, because if you go to Prince George's County, where you go to Bowie or Mitchellville or anything like that, that is predominantly black, don't have that problem.
You don't see any of it there.
So I'm gonna discount that argument for Baltimore City right off the break, because if you look at the neighbor to the south, and they don't have those issues like Baltimore City does. So let's cut that. Let's just chop that right now.
Remember, the schools are better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a better life.
Yeah. I mean,
and it's still predominantly black and Hispanic.
Yeah, it's 85%, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, and the other, even going back to, I mean, if you want to talk about the dirt bikes and the ATVs, or the squeegee boys, right? It's chaos that people don't want to go toward.
Yeah.
Even if, let's say, no one's going to be harmed, right? Which they could be, but let's just say there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's the chaos. Nobody wants to go toward most people are not built like police, firefighters, army vets.
Yeah.
They're not going towards the danger.
Yeah.
Most people, I'm going to say, I mean, if you take out police, firefighter, first responders, all that stuff, you got maybe 92% of the population left.
Yeah.
That 92% is ingrained to think to stay away from problems and trouble. And you can't blame that on racism.
Yeah. And here's
chaos.
The thing. Yeah, and even if you do take that percentage of those people that are your police, fire, military that just don't care and would go down there no problem, do they want to bring their little kids and their wife down there?
Right. Yeah, right. Absolutely.
And the answer to that is no.
Right.
Like I can handle myself, but I'm not bringing my kids with me.
And look, you have people that will still go down to Camden Yards. They'll still go down to the Ravens Stadium. They'll still go to the Inner Harbor. They'll still go to the aquarium and all that fun stuff that's down there.
Yeah.
But in the back of their mind, rather than going to 5 Orioles games, they go to 1. They get their one game in to say that they went. They saw Camden Yards this year. It's a place to go. I mean, shoot, when I was younger, I would go to like 4, 5, 6 games.
Oh yeah. Or they go to the game. Mm-hmm. They go into the stadium. They watch the game ends, and they leave. They don't hang out for a beer.
Right. No one's
they
on
don't
the harbor.
Go to eat dinner. It's not a game, dinner or a game and dinner or whatever. It's we're going to go in, we're going to watch the game, we're going to leave. We're going to pay to park on site, or we're going to ride light rail in from Glen Burnie, and it's going to drop us off right there.
Yeah.
And when it's over, we're leaving. So
it's the same thing for the theater too. Mm-hmm. Like my wife and I, we went down to Little Italy to go get a nice Italian dinner from an authentic Italian family. I'm assuming they're still owned by the families that live down there. And then we had to drive a little ways to get to the Hippodrome. Well, on the way there, we saw an assault, and I think we got asked for money twice.
Yeah.
I don't care about the asking for money. That's going to happen everywhere. As long as they're polite and you say no and they let you go, fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
But to witness the assault on somebody is like, okay, well, the immediate thought is, well, that could have been us.
Yeah. So
we went and saw we went to dinner, saw the play, and immediately after that, I was like, I'm not going back to Baltimore for a while. Mm-hmm. Not after what I just saw.
Yeah.
Now look, call me a coward, call me what you want, but I'm not. I'm one of those people that's saying, if I can go get that same experience in DC, of going to
get the Kennedy Center
dinner. Yeah, right. If I can go to dinner and then go to the Kennedy Center and see that same play, I'm going there because the Kennedy Center's in a nice part of town.
Yeah.
I know I can go to DC, and I guess the roles used to be reversed back in the 60s and 70s. Like DC was not a good place, but I mean I feel much safer going into DC.
Yeah,
and I can go take my wife to dinner, theater, and I feel completely safe. Mm-hmm. If I have those options, I'm doing that.
Yeah,
I mean shoot, we could probably even stay in Annapolis and do that if we wanted to. Mm-hmm. My point, the point is that people are not instinctively going to go to some place where they have a higher percentage of bad things happening to them.
Yeah.
Whether the thoughts are unfounded or not, people are always going to be risk averse.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. So I'm trying to think, what were we talking about before we got to this?
Tulsi Gabbard.
Tulsi. That's what it is. But so essentially, she was basically saying that she didn't like the ideology that the Democrats were now putting out. Mm-hmm. She said this, and we've said this before. The Democrat Party used to be the party of the workers, party of the unions.
Yeah. When
unions were still good.
Yeah.
Unions now, like I still think like the police union's good. Firefighters unions are probably pretty good. Nursing, there are some good unions still left out there.
Well, I think you also have to differentiate between the national union,
right, and the local,
the local. So like NEA, there's NEA, and then there's the local county teachers association.
Yeah.
So,
but even they're getting less and less teeth to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when some of these policies strip the rights of some of these workers to strike. You can't strike in a school. You can't strike if you're a transit agency.
Police departments and fire departments can't strike.
Right. And they did that because they would have the city over a barrel.
Yeah.
Because you're going to take out all the public safety and let the streets run lawless if you don't give them what they want.
Yeah.
All right. You can't really do that either. But then you took away any bite that they had by saying, well, you can't strike anyway.
Or saying any job action is illegal.
Right.
So if you work to rule, if you get together and say we're going to work to rule, that's illegal.
Right.
So you can't coordinate it on a big scale.
Right.
Or if you do things like the fire department goes and every single truck that is out broken or needs work, you drop them all off at fleet at their fleet maintenance at the same time. Yeah. Like that organized kind of thing doesn't, like, that's something they can't do. Well, what can they do?
Yeah. And unfortunately, I mean, the top of the national unions just got so fat off their local folks. Yeah. I mean, Richard Trumka makes like, I think the dude is making like millions a year.
Is that the AFL-CIO?
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean and then you got the auto workers union head. I think like the teachers head. I mean, they're all just raking in money hand over fist, and who knows where they're getting on the side.
Yeah.
And that was one of those things where, before Hoffa, like the union guy usually came up through the ranks.
Mm-hmm.
And so they used to be the worker.
Yeah.
And Hoffa kind of changed that. And the movie, what was that movie with De Niro, Pesci? It was that 3-hour long, The Irishman. Sorry. The Irishman kind of went into the details of Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
Al Pacino played Hoffa. It was a good movie, but it kind of went into what was going on at the unions at that level, and it only got worse.
Yeah.
So basically, she was saying the Democrat Party isn't a party for the workers anymore.
No,
it is now the party of the political elite. And the funny part about that is I want to say just 10 years ago, that was what you would have said about Republicans.
Oh, yeah.
It's shocking to me.
And it's done this flip, and I can't figure out. I think I think part of it is some of these really wild lefty things they do. If you want to get into some of the trans stuff, and to me, like, if someone is feeling that way and that's what like that, okay, if that's what's best for them, and I'll honor that and whatever. And that's great. If that's how they're going to live their life and that's how they're going to be happy, okay. I think people start drawing the line when it becomes, well, now we're going to try to influence your children. And at that point, like, no, that's a decision of me and my family. That's not a decision of that I want a teacher. Oh, well, you're afraid that your dad's going to not be happy that you and I identify as this. So, okay, at school, you're going to identify as this. And when you're at home, but we're not going to tell him. Like, no, that's a family decision. The government needs to stay out of that.
Or if you don't allow your child to go look for services, child protective services can be called on you.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, there is a lot of effort going into these types of things for a portion of the population that's under maybe 0.5%.
Oh, it's very small, yeah.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
But there's so much attention to it.
Yep.
And for those that don't think that this is real, I went on the New Jersey School Board website, and it posted the curriculum. Mm-hmm. And the curriculum for K through 2, kindergarten through 2, talked about gender affirmation.
So we're talking about 5, 6, and 7-year-olds.
Yes.
Yeah. And
this was the statewide Department of Education that was sending the curriculum down to the locals. Mm-hmm. And they were saying that this is what was going to be implemented. And of course, people found out. But, I mean, it's buried in a 100-page document.
Yeah.
And very few people are going to read that 100-page document, but somebody did. Mm-hmm. And somebody found out. And then I went and I read it, and I was like, wow, sure as shit, there it is.
Yeah.
Like, and people were like, and if you go on any of those Democrat websites or media like MSNBC, well, this isn't happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening.
Right.
The parents in Virginia are crazy, which led to the NEA writing the letter for the DOJ, trying to persuade the DOJ to label parents at Board of Education meetings as domestic terrorists.
Right.
Like, that was actually done. Mm-hmm. That memo exists.
Yeah.
And for major news networks like a CNN and MSNBC, which, look, say what you want about legacy media, but when you combine it with the New York Times and the Washington Post, that's a lot of people that read those things and listen to those things. And all they're saying is, oh, these people are crazy. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist.
Right.
Just like they'll say that critical race theory isn't being taught in schools. It doesn't exist. It's a college level course.
Yeah.
It's college level theory. Yes, but parts of it have trickled down. The parts where it talks about, there certain races are oppressors and certain races are oppressed.
Yeah. And
again, if you go on the Sacramento Unified School District website, it puts it there in black and white. That's what they're going to do. They're going to separate children by race to talk about race, and they're going to teach the white kids that they're oppressors, and they're going to teach the minority kids that they're oppressed. Like you don't have to look hard for it.
Yeah, and that doesn't do any kid any good.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't. And the funny part, like, I don't know who's more up in. It's almost like the white people are more okay with this than the minority groups.
Yeah,
minority groups think this is nuts. And they're they go to board meetings, board of education meetings. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you're teaching my kid that he's oppressed.
Yeah.
And so now the parents have to undo what the schools are doing.
Yeah.
And all that the mainstream media tells other people in that bubble is, it's not happening.
No, that does not. No, that's not happening.
It's college level. It's at the college level.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but the theory might be college level, but parts of it are being trickled down.
Where are these people learning? Like, if it's at college, someone's taking that course.
Right.
And then that person, one or two of them come out and become teachers or school administrators, and it works its way down.
Right.
And it just divides people. Well,
and then you've got the people that say, well, we're not teaching that here. It's not in our curriculum. You get a teacher or someone who works in the school. It's not happening here. I'm not saying it's here.
Yeah.
But I'm saying whoever is pushing this, try to push it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it's being taught in other places. They just didn't get to here yet.
Yeah.
Or some of the places that they got to pushed back. And that's what you saw in Virginia.
Yeah.
Now, there were other things in Virginia that were going on too, though. And then they said, well, they're trying to ban books. There were some books that were in elementary schools that were showing full-on fellatio.
Yeah.
In an elementary school.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not for banning books, but there are age-appropriate books.
Right, and
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not saying ban the book. I'm just saying that's not a book that should be in an elementary school.
Right.
Like, is that so bad?
Yeah,
it's like, you're not putting hustlers in elementary school. You know what I'm saying? You're not putting Playboys in there.
Yeah.
Like, you can find them in the library. I think you can find them in the library, but not the school library.
Right. It shouldn't be at the elementary school library.
Right.
At least wait till middle school.
Or even like romance novel or something.
Yeah.
Like when they get a little steamy talking about all types of stuff going on, things touching, inserting, outsering.
Yeah, is 50 Shades of Grey going to be in the Broadneck High School library? Should it be?
Sure. But I mean, and the things that we're talking about aren't nearly as graphic as what was put in those schools in Virginia. Yeah. Like, they showed pictures of it. It was graphic.
Yeah, I've seen some of the pictures of that stuff that comes out. I'm like, this shouldn't, because I remember when I was I think it was 5th grade when they separated the boys and the girls. They had the birds and the bees talk where they, the parents had to sign a permission slip for the kids to be able to participate in that.
And the first reaction, well, where's your source? Okay, when I'm looking at these things, like when I'm just reading things and I come across it, I'm not earmarking it. I'm not keeping a list of these things. Yeah. So that when Joe Blow asks for a source, I just have them at the ready. Yeah. Like, I barely remember where I read it from, but my eyes saw it and I did read it. Right. And just because you asked for a source and I'm saying, well, I don't have it right now, doesn't mean it didn't exist. Right. Now, look, I get it. You want to you want sources, but guess what? You got the Google machine too. And if you want to tell me it's not there, go ahead. Yeah. But if you also don't want to do the research to find out if I'm being truthful with you, that's not on me, that's on you. Yeah. You can keep your head in the sand all you want. And I'm not saying that to be derogatory, or I'm not saying that to talk down to people, but I'm just saying, look, if you don't know, you don't know, and that's fine. But if someone says that they saw this, Yeah, you can either disprove them or just admit that you don't want to do the work to disprove them.
Well, if you came down here and said, "Hey, dude, I just saw a UFO and it landed in front of the house and it's there right now," I could do one of two things. I could be like, "No, you didn't. UFOs don't exist, silly." But more likely, I'm going to run up the steps to go see if I can see it for myself. Mm-hmm. Whether I'm pro UFO or anti UFO, I'm still going to want to see if it's there.
Right.
So the same with this, like you can find it just as easily as anybody else can. But they want to say, well, where's your source? Well, I don't know what the source was. Well, then if you don't have the source, it doesn't exist.
Right.
When you know damn well it does.
Right.
So where's the source for UFO? Well, my eyes, I saw it.
Right.
Well, where's your source? Where did you find this? You go upstairs and look at it. I don't believe you. It's not there.
Right.
When it's there. So.
No, we're at 45 minutes. We had a lot more planned for this. Because we want to talk about Ukraine, Putin, and nuclear war.
Yeah.
Essentially, I
thought we'd put that to bed in the early 90s, but apparently we have all these dolts and dullards in Washington who are running things, and we're back to that now. So
yeah, I mean, nuclear war. There is no winner. There is no loser. Well, I'm sorry. Everyone's
a loser.
There are no winners in nuclear war. Everyone will die.
Mm-hmm.
Because here's, I mean, everyone. Well, not everyone.
But the lucky ones die in the first strike.
Well, and look, a lot of people are going to think that you're nuts by that statement.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Yeah,
if there is a nuclear strike and the whole world's just going to burn,
yeah,
I am hoping that I'm done within the first 5 minutes, and I'm hoping it's quick because anyone who's left is going to die that slow death.
Yep.
From radiation poisoning, and if anyone needs confirmation of why we would say we want to die early, if there was a nuclear attack, I'm not saying I want to die right now. I'm saying if there were nuclear bombs dropped, look at the footage from after Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kept records of what problems those people had that survived.
Yeah.
And it was far worse than dying.
Yeah.
Within the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Like, just take me out right away.
Yep.
And as much as I hate to say it, I hope all my loved ones would get taken out by the nuclear fallout or whatever it is right away.
Yep.
Because you don't want to die that horrible slow death from radiation poisoning.
Yeah.
It's just an awful way to go.
And even if you're far enough out from that,
yep,
you still have to. Now, society as you know it no longer exists. There is no law. There's no one to call to come help you. You're on your own. So there's going to be marauding bands of whoever. The strongest person is going to be in charge of whoever has the most arms is going to be in charge of whatever until someone takes that guy out. And it's going to continue. You think, oh, there's some bad guys coming to my house. Let me call the police. The police aren't coming. They don't exist anymore.
Right. They got wiped out in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, my house is burning down. Call the fire department. Nope, they're not coming either.
They're going to. Everyone else's house is burning as well. Sorry.
Yeah.
The bomb took everyone out.
Yeah.
And everything out with it. But unfortunately, and I get the counter argument. It's like, well, do you just let them take over and kill people? We're talking about Putin here. No, you don't. But when you're dealing with a dog backed into a corner, you got to give him an option to get out.
Yeah.
And save face.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're not dealing with a Saddam Hussein who didn't have the weapons to cause that kind of destruction.
Right.
You're dealing with someone that does and has a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone who could literally take out the entire world.
Yeah.
With that arsenal of nuclear weapons.
Yep.
One button, everything's launched, and you're all screwed.
As easily as you check the balance on your bank account on your phone.
Yep.
That's what this happens. And the thing is this guy gets older. How much time does he have left, really?
Right. He's in his, 70s?
Yeah.
I think 60s or 70s.
Yeah, and I think he has Parkinson's real bad.
Right. I heard some people say he's got cancer. Some people say he's got Parkinson's. Yeah. Whatever it is, you need to let him. And then this is going to get a lot of blowback. You need to let him off the hook with this. Yeah. Because if you don't, you're not dealing with someone stable over there. No. And again, if you got him backed into a corner and he's going to die, let's say he's got a terminal cancer. Yeah. He's going to die anyway.
What's to say the last thing he does is
pushes that button.
Yeah.
Elevator down. You know? Do you want to take that chance? Like, are we taking that chance? I mean, that's like everyone saying, well, Donald Trump has the nuke codes. He's a crazy man. We're not going to back. What if this guy's just as crazy? Mm-hmm. I mean, no one is going to confuse Vladimir Putin for being a good dude. Right. Right? He's not invited over to
was it from the hangover? What do you mean the drug dealer by the liquor store wasn't a good dude? Right. He seemed like a straight shooter.
Yeah, and that's who we're dealing with. You're dealing with the drug dealer from beyond the convenience store. And we're really this is the guy we're gonna play chicken with? Yeah. Come on, man. Like
you all know your friends, like growing up. Like there was the kid that would have gone head to head and had a head on collision with you. Yep. Like you'll play chicken with, but not that dude. Like you don't start a prank war with him because he'll set your house on fire.
Right. He's gonna take it. He doesn't have that.
There's no off switch.
Social awareness. To know when too much is too much. Right. But then you can also say the people that were his friends didn't know when to stop either. Right. Like, all right, everyone, we need to cool the temperature down a little bit. Okay, now's that time for this whole ordeal.
But the bad part is that through all this, the Chinese are the ones that are saying, hey, we need to de-escalate it regardless of how we're doing this. Right. The Chinese, like, we're supposed to be the good guys. What are you doing? But there's so many people making so much money off of this. Right. All this, like Eisenhower warned about the military-industrial complex, and here it is. You have that, and you have permanent Washington. You have all these, and living here, we really see it because there is, for anyone who's not familiar with the D.C. area, there's the Capitol Beltway, which runs around the city, and you really have this inside the Beltway mindset, and that's all they know. So it's inside the Beltway, and then it kind of extends out into Northern Virginia, and that's where all of the defense contractors are. It's where the lobbying firms are. It's where, of course, the seat of federal government is. That's the Pentagon's. It's where everything is. Yeah. And there's a whole bunch of people that are like, man, look at the money we're making and how much influence they buy. So if I can sell more, if Raytheon can sell a couple more missile systems to them,
there's a reason why Montgomery County in Maryland is the richest county in America.
Yeah. I think it flips back and forth between them and Fairfax.
Sure. But either way. Yeah. So that's the Fairfax is like where the Republicans go and live. Yeah. When they're in power. And Montgomery County is where all the
Democrats Northwest is where the Democrats live.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the military-industrial complex got what they wanted. They got Sweden and Finland into NATO, which meant they had to up their defense spending to 2% of their GDP. Yeah, which meant they're buying stuff from Raytheon and Lockheed Martin. Yeah. They're gonna buy some F/A-18s and F-35s and some of the. So they're gonna get their piece of this war. Mm-hmm. Now it's a matter of well, that part of it just pissed off the unhinged dude in Russia with the whole bunch of nukes. You now need to de-escalate it.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why they wanted to go so hard at Ukraine was because they were afraid that the Russian army would barrel through Ukraine and then take down Poland and then keep going. But we've seen the Russian army really isn't the juggernaut. The conventional forces really aren't as formidable as we had feared. Yeah. And I mean, if it were to stay strictly conventional, and we talked about this on an podcast episode before. Primarily U.S. and NATO forces versus the giant red army. I'm not really. My money is 100% on NATO forces,
Right.
because we saw maintenance, logistics. They just had none of it going.
Right.
So that was the now that fear is not actually, give him Donbass, let him have his, and roll out. Like,
But those are real people, Mike.
yeah, who are most of them identify as ethnic Russians anyway.
Right. Well, and the other side of this is, look, and this is going to sound real bad. Would you rather put a couple 100,000 people under Russian rule,
Or have everyone die?
or nuke the planet?
Yeah.
You got to do your cost analysis on this.
Yeah.
And look, I know it sounds cruel because I don't live there, right?
Right.
I wouldn't be one of the people that had to switch my passport
Yeah.
or live under worse conditions. Although I have no idea what the conditions really.
Or if you took all this money that they're spent, $40 billion we just sent over there in military aid?
We've probably sent close to $1 trillion over there at this point.
And you said, okay, everyone here's what Putin gets, okay? Everyone who lives on that side of the line that wants to be on the other side and vice versa, here's all this money. We can make that happen. We'll build you an identical house on this side of the line so you're not Russian, so that you're Ukrainian, and you can be, because they wanted to be more modern and more Western and all that. Here you go. This is where you live now. And then you guys want to be Russian? Go over that side.
Right.
And end it.
Well, because you know how much money it would cost to make each of those people rich enough to move?
Probably a lot less than the money they're spending on guns and bombs.
I think you could probably do it for $1 million.
Yeah.
Once it's converted into local currency,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is worthless probably,
Yeah.
you probably made them millionaires in their currency with a 2-story house
Yeah.
and maybe a couple acres, and they can keep farming and sheep and doing stuff with sheep and whatever else. I don't know. Look, I'm not trying to downgrade that way of life, but I don't think it would take that much money to make them wealthy enough to move to whichever side of the line they wanted to, and this is over.
Yeah.
I mean, and anyone said, well, that's horrible. Why would you? Look, if there was a war in this country and someone offered me $10 million to move across a line
Yeah.
into the area that I wanted to live,
Right. Where do I sign?
you need my bank account number?
Let's do this.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so you're telling me I get to live where I want to live and you're going to pay me?
Yeah.
Maybe you can negotiate a little bit. Instead of $10 million, I want 15.
Yeah.
Done.
So, you got it. So, say it's the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah.
Which is probably, by the way the crow flies, maybe 40 miles from here.
Sure.
So, you're going to give me $10 million to move 40 miles north? Yes.
And you're going to, and I don't have to pay any money. You're just going to give me double the land size that I've got, and I can build any house I want on it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. See ya. Peace.
Yeah. Okay.
Pieces.
Bye.
Yeah.
We're like, that's a no-brainer.
You need me to move now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. That's a no-brainer for me.
Right. Can I leave all my dumb crap I don't want in my old house? Sure. Okay.
And oh, by the way, you're not going to keep bombing my house?
Yeah.
Because right now I'm living in a war zone.
Yeah.
So now you're telling me I don't have to live in a war zone anymore. I get double the land I've got already. I can build any house I want, and you're gonna make me a millionaire.
Yeah.
I couldn't sign those papers quick enough.
Yeah.
Because my alternative is I'm gonna live in a war zone
Right.
for however long, or the entire world's gonna get nuked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll take option A.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Life is just a series of decisions.
Right. But Raytheon and Lockheed Martin doesn't make a bunch of money off of that.
No. Well, the weird thing is, like, how many wars could have been avoided by just paying some people off?
Yeah.
I mean, think about how many wars in the Middle East could have not been fought if we would have just paid some people off.
Yeah.
And we could have done it for a lot less than the war cost.
Mm-hmm.
But without the war, you don't get to replenish missiles, bombs, airplanes.
Consumables.
You don't replace the consumables.
Yeah.
Ammo.
Yeah.
Guns. Grenades. Whatever. I don't know what even else they make anymore.
Yeah.
But, right. You don't get that quarterly boost to your profits if you're the maker of the guns, the boots, the jackets,
Yeah.
the bullets,
Yep.
the grenade launchers, the missile launchers. You don't get to sell those and post them on your quarterly profits.
Yeah.
So Doesn't work for them.
And what I don't get is the fact that 20 years ago, the Democrat Party would have been the party that would be having this conversation.
The passive, yeah, but they would have been the so-called pacifist party.
Yeah.
No, heck no, not anymore.
But I think the wool's just been removed where you've got the permanent DC who are Democrats and Republicans. They're indistinguishable from one another. But right now the Democrats are in power, so they're the ones that are, I
have a different theory on that. I think you have a Republican Party where the people that elected them started to get rid of those bureaucratic DC types, and the Democrat Party never did. So now you still have some people in the Republican Party, like Mitch McConnell, Kevin McCarthy's. They're still part of the Uniparty.
Yeah.
But there's fewer of them in the Republican Party than there are of those in the Democrat Party. So the Democrat Party is now the one that can be controlled.
Yeah.
And do the bidding, right? And you've got some Republicans that are still on the other side, that are still part of that Uniparty, that'll kind of run interference for them.
Mm-hmm.
But because the Republican voters are less convinced by propaganda and news sources.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe we said most people that identify as Republican or conservative leaning, they use 5 to 7 news sources, whereas most Democrats or liberal leaning folks use 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So they're more likely to be persuaded into one opinion versus the conservative or Republican who is reading multiple sources of news and information. Yeah. And so you can't really control the narrative as much. So you've got one party who hasn't booted out all their political elites, and you've got the other one who's probably 25 to 30% without the political elites, and 70% still left are.
Yeah.
But that 30% makes enough noise.
Yep.
To where they can't really do the bidding of the Uniparty.
Yeah.
And so because of that, the Democrat Party all of a sudden they became the neocons.
Yeah.
Like your Paul Wolfs and your Donald Rumsfelds, they'd be Democrats right now.
Yeah.
Like those
Dick Cheney.
Dick Cheney. Think what Liz Cheney.
Yeah.
Essentially was trying to bust open the Republican Party to go back to being the Uniparty.
Yeah.
And then she lost her primary.
Right. And the funny thing about her is like all of a sudden like the left leaning media loves her.
Loved her.
And then we go to I was like, wait, her dad shot somebody with a shotgun.
Right in the face. Right in the face.
Started out was like evil. Like
he was enemy number 1 to Democrats.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney was.
Yeah.
Now he's like, oh, look, it's Dick Cheney.
Right.
He thinks that Trump is crazy too.
Yeah.
He's our friend now. And so's his daughter Liz. Right. Yay! Liz is here. She's going to be on the January 6th committee.
But the other thing I don't get is, Donald Trump, when he was in office, he brought a lot of he had he brought Mike Pompeo in.
Mike Mulvaney.
Yep. Mulvaney. He had Nikki Haley.
Yep.
Michael Bolton.
Oh, that was such a bad move.
He was just a complete war hawk. Yeah. And the funny thing is, none of these motherfuckers, excuse my French, that'll probably get us the language flag. Maybe we'll bleep that out. None of these dudes would ever put their ass in a trench or in the desert or in a tank or wherever. None of them would.
Right.
None of them would because they're all a bunch of little pussies. But here they are pushing for these goddamn wars. And I think that's what a lot of my buddies, a lot of my friends from our generation are seriously messed up from having fun in, W's sandbox war.
Right.
And here they are, but none of those dudes' kids went.
Right.
Those dudes are all pushing the buttons. They're not going there.
No.
Wars are fought by poor people.
Yeah. And there's no denying that. They got no problem sending young conservative family children to war.
Yeah.
Because let's face facts. the majority of the military is made up from red state kids.
Yep. And then you got your
poor Democrats.
Yeah.
Either way.
Poor white kids, poor black kids, poor Spanish kids to get blown up for some pointless war somewhere. Mm-hmm. Yep. And they're sending them over there, and I think that's a lot of the buck on these people too. People
don't understand about the populist movements. Populists is Nazis. No, populists just mean let's take care of our own first before we start trying to do all this other stuff. Yeah. Like that, I mean, everyone's like, "Oh, that's America first." Well, yeah, people are fed up with Americans getting the shaft.
Yeah, and the thing is, I have 3 boys. You know, the oldest is 10. So depending on what these idiots do, I don't want my son going and dying in some pointless war somewhere.
Right.
For what? So that the next version of Donald Rumsfeld or Paul Pelosi gets better return on his investments.
Right. Can get that extra yacht.
Yeah. Right. And what do we get? A gold star to hang in our window?
Right. Right. Well, what is it? What's that? It's the red bars, the white middle, and then like the blue star in the middle.
Yeah, you get the however many are serving, and then you get a gold star for KIA.
Right.
Well, I'd rather have my kid than a gold freaking star.
Right. Yeah.
And he's not fighting the Nazis in Europe.
Right.
You go to some nondescript enemy. Let's drop $1 million worth of bombs from a $100 million aircraft on a mud hut. Like, this doesn't make any sense.
But Mike, it's about human rights now.
Right. So
human rights,
spreading democracy one JDAM at a time.
Listen, girls aren't allowed to go to school over there.
Yeah.
They can't go. They don't get. They get sold off like cattle, Mike. That's not humane.
Right.
You know, and we should be saving them. We need to save everybody.
And then we're going to go and do it. And then once we're tired of it, we're just going to leave.
Right. Well, we're going to go there. We're not going to accomplish any of that. But we are going to go make it so that, you know, all those consumable weapons were consumed.
Yeah.
And now people have to order new ones.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we might have killed a lot of civilians too. Mm-hmm. Can't replace them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe they can. You know, they're going to replace them with robots or something. Who knows? But I think as you get older, I feel like in my 20s, I'm like, yeah, let's go kill some people.
Dude, in my 20s, I would have gone, except I was too fat to get in.
I couldn't get in either.
Yeah, I was ready to roll. You know.
But when you have the benefit of hindsight, you're like, well, wait a minute. All these dudes just got rich off of this, and it's just like you really start and yeah. What do they say? Wisdom's wasted on the youth.
Yeah.
Or no.
Youth is wasted on the young.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you really, as you get older, you kind of see through all the bullshit.
Yeah.
You're just like, wow. I was fed a whole bunch of garbage.
Yeah.
About what it was and what it was. It's like, and I mean, that all kind of started with the whole Bush and the WMDs. Mm-hmm. And then they didn't have them. And they knew they were never there.
Yeah.
It's like, and the weird thing is, like, Democrats were always the first ones to point that out.
Yeah.
They were the anti-war people.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to say that the Clintons kind of changed that. But Clinton doing his thing over in the Baltics, mm-hmm. like Kosovo, Albania, and Slovakia, and all, like, he was in that.
Yeah.
And then you had Bush that came after him, and he started more wars. But look, the first Bush that did the first Iraq War.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Up until Trump, every single president started a new war.
Yeah.
From before Reagan did the Cold War. Now, the mm-hmm. Cold War was just we're going to outspend someone and starve them to death.
Yeah.
But you had Bush 1 did the first Gulf War. Clinton did the Baltics.
Yep. And continued stuff in
sure
the Middle East.
Bush the second, more Iraq too.
Yeah.
Obama continued Iraq.
Iraq and Afghanistan.
And continued Afghanistan. And then you had Trump. Now people are gonna say, "Well, he didn't get us out of Afghanistan." No, he started that ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then Biden came in and took the credit for it.
Yeah.
Effed
it up.
Right.
And took the credit for it.
He said, "Well, we're still out of there."
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, But Trump was the first one to not start a new war.
Yeah.
Or continue, or try to continue. Although, because didn't Obama start Syria?
So that was all us and the Russians.
Right.
So yeah, Obama was.
But he started that one.
Right. So that was all part of that Arab Spring.
Right.
When they were letting all the uprisings go, and that started and it's still going on, but that started with, I'm sure there was operatives and all kinds of stuff down there helping the rebels or whoever they were against Bashar al-Assad. And not a good dude by any stretch.
Nope.
But, he's, bombing his own people. But the thing is, they all do it over there. It's nothing new. And then the Russians come in, but that created this vacuum which allowed ISIS to spring up. And ISIS, everyone's so bad. Even Al Qaeda was like, "Whoa, these guys are pretty awful." Right. You're bad when Al Qaeda is like, "Ugh."
Right. People that literally took Daniel Pearl's head off.
Yeah.
On YouTube.
Right.
And they're like, "Ooh, I don't know if we can get down with that."
When the Taliban and the Mujahideen and Al Qaeda is like, "Yeah, y'all are kind of crazy."
Right, they're like, "Please save us from them."
Yeah. So now Trump did go in there, and they did some spec ops and bombed the crap out of ISIS, which I don't think anyone here is thinking like, oh yeah, let's keep ISIS around.
No, but it was a much less personnel intense movement.
Yeah,
you weren't putting more young kids in harm's way.
Yeah,
you were using the technology you had so that you didn't have to do that.
But one of the issues is that during that time, the Russians were operating aircraft in support of Assad. We were operating aircraft in support of the rebels. Mm-hmm. It really could have gotten nasty had, say, an American and a Russian aircraft started tagging with each other. But
didn't they kind of start working together to get rid of ISIS?
Yeah.
So then it turned into Syria, Russia, and the U.S. and the rebels.
Yeah. Just
trying to get these people the hell out.
Yeah.
So we can't have any of this.
Right.
We'll go back to fighting later.
Yeah.
We need to get these guys out.
Right. So
that was such a weird and confusing war.
Yeah.
It still is. I still don't think I know it.
No.
I don't know the details of all of it.
We just gotta wait for the next group of assholes to pop up over there.
Sure. Or anywhere. I mean, shoot, they could be in North Africa. I mean, remember this? You don't hear much about the Somalis pirates.
No.
Hijacking ships because they started arming the people on the ships.
Yeah. Well, there was also I forget the group that was affiliated with Al Qaeda in Nigeria.
Right.
So the ones that that kidnapped the girls,
Right.
And then there was the lazy, hashtag Save Our Girls.
So the big news: Tulsi leaving the Democrats, and all the other political fun stuff we just talked about there. Toward the end of this episode, we told you guys every 2 weeks we would talk about our weight loss. Although loss is going to be a fun word this week. I did not lose any weight at all.
No, me neither.
No, I might have gained some. In fact, I don't think my scale goes above 350. So I don't know if I can actually take my weight anymore unless I go to the doctor's office.
You got to go on Amazon and get a Fat Boy scale.
That's true. I could do that, right? I mean,
I have one. Yeah.
I should do that. I need to go get a new one. So I'm going to say that I'm going to be optimistic. I stayed steady at 350.
Yeah. So I am working another angle. So, I guess 2 weeks ago, I went to the urologist to get some dude stuff checked out, and the urologist sent me to get some blood work done to check my testosterone levels. So I did that.
Do you have the results back?
Not yet.
Oh.
I had the blood drawn today.
Oh, all right.
So I kind of didn't work out or eat right or do anything over those 2 weeks.
It works out as a cliffhanger for us.
Yeah.
Because now people will get to find out what happened 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. We'll see.
And I don't have my appointment until November 29th with the naturopath. That's when I'll start doing all my blood work, find out what's going on with me. And the I looked more into those GLP-1 drugs. So I guess there's like GLP-1 and GLP-1 RAs, which are receptor, whatever. I don't know what the heck it is. It sounds like the side effects are pretty nasty.
Ugh.
Like as far as like nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea go.
You want to have me not do something? Throw those in there. I could do a head cold. I could do any of that. I had COVID twice. I was fine. I'm not dealing with like norovirus. No thanks. And that sounds like norovirus.
Yeah, for me, vomiting and nausea are my two no-nos. Yeah, diarrhea, whatever. I'll handle that. I'm used to going a lot anyway.
Yeah.
For me, the nausea one would be bad. It's not everyone that does it gets it, but I could see myself trying it and maybe tapping out after 2 weeks. Yeah, because it's once weekly. Yeah, on the injection, it's seraglutide, which is Wegovy. Yeah. Now, of course, when Rogan and Tulsi were talking, they were talking about it's either seraglutide or semaglutide. I forgot which glutide it is, but anyway, basically they were busting on Kim Kardashian for talking about it. But it is as much as we love the FDA on the show, but it is FDA approved for weight loss. So there is some medical merit to it. It's not just Kim Kardashian trying to hawk some stuff this time. So I don't think she's got any, unless she's got some stock in the pharmaceutical companies that sell all these, but every single one of them has their own version. Yeah. So the good news is like it's one of those drugs where you can go on it for a few months, lose some weight, and go off of it. But it also just, from the way now I'm seeing that they work, it basically just makes you feel full. Okay. So it almost works like a gastric bypass in that it makes you, it doesn't allow you to eat. Like, you lose your appetite for the most part. And that could be where some of the nausea and vomiting come from. But I'm definitely going to talk to the naturopath and the nurse there more about those drugs. Yeah, see what they And also depends on what the blood work comes back as, Yeah,
I think so talk about the naturopath, for anyone who's interested, he has a podcast. His name is Dr. Jade Teta, Teta, and his podcast, if you just search Jade Teta podcast, you'll find it. Yeah. But he gets into a lot of this stuff. Yeah. A lot of the blood work, a lot of the naturopath, and digging deeper into what causes a lot of ailments. Rather than, we call it healthcare, or in this country, it should really be called sick care. Right. And then another guy, Dave Smith, who does
the comedian and politician.
Yep, there's him, and then I listened to one. It's a company called Ways to Well, which is another very interesting. It's a naturopath type of thing, but if you look at that, I think you'll get some good information and just another way, a perspective of looking at things.
Well, and the key, the one thing that kind of like turned me on to a naturopath was the fact that it's not just some hippity-dippity dude trying to say, oh, take this vitamin, take that vitamin, pray to the trees and hug some dirt.
Meditate.
It's not that. It's a matter, they do blood work to see what your underlying ailments are. Yeah. Like, they're actually going to use science to work your weight loss. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I can go get my blood work done, and the guy's going to say, you're perfectly fine. Do your caloric deficit and actually do it. Yep. You stooge, and it might have to go that way. But it's better than trying everything, nothing working because your body chemistry is shit. Yep. So if we can work out the body chemistry first, and then go back to that without the drug, great. I'm not saying like I definitely want to go on the drug. I'm not dead set on going on a seraglutide or whatever, semaglutide. I'm not dead set on that. But at least with the blood work, I will know for 100% sure what's going on in my body.
Yeah. Yeah, and just a correction, it's not Dave Smith. That was a good episode, though. The guy's name is Brigham Bueller. Okay. So
you were way off.
Yeah.
Samsonite.
But I listen to him like, because I go through and I read the description and decide whether I want to listen. So Brigham Bueller, that's the company Ways to Well, and then the Jade Teta stuff it's called The Next Level Human, and he gets into a lot of workout stuff. He gets into dietary stuff. His whole thing is the toggles, which is the eat more, exercise more model, eat less, exercise less, that sort of deal. So, but check those guys out. I think you'll get some good information there, just to different perspective rather than just, caloric deficit and eat steamed toast.
Definitely. We ran a little long. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes on this, so they'll probably, once I put in the intro, we'll probably be like 122. So we probably our longest episode yet.
Yeah.
And we hope you stuck around. We hope it was informative. I know we talked about some politics stuff, but we also wanted to make sure we got you an update on the weight loss, because we did promise that every other week. So you won't hear about any updates next week, but you will hear about it the week after that. So we appreciate you listening. DrivewayBeersPodcast.com. Listen on any platform. You can go to DrivewayBeersPodcast.com/subscribe. Click on any one of the podcast platform buttons. It will send you directly to the show. Or just type in Driveway Beers and we come up. And any platform you got. We appreciate you listening, and we will talk to you soon.